Hi, you're watching Tractor Talk with Gary. Today we have a special guest with me. This is my wife, Barb. And Barb, you're a holistic veterinarian. Let's have you tell the viewers what that is, what a holistic veterinarian is and how that came about.
Sure. Well, I graduated from Iowa State University in 1994, so I've been at this for quite a while. And I was a conventional practitioner, did medications, drugs, and surgery, just like most vets do. And then in 2007, I had a life-threatening health scare. And I know how freaked out you were about it because I had breast cancer. And I'd seen my mom, she passed 4 years before me of uterine cancer. And so I got to see all the horrible side effects that she had from her treatment, which she went the full conventional method of trying to treat her cancer. Because of that, I made the decision that I did not want to go through what she went through. And I know how we had many conversations about this, and you were so worried because your mom died of breast cancer. But I knew that with the health issues I'd already had, that it just wasn't going to work for me. So I decided to take a completely holistic approach, and the only medical intervention that I had was surgery to remove a lump. I didn't even take a pain pill after surgery. No chemo, no radiation. And I'm just going to say right here for the viewers that I'm not trying to tell you what to do. This is just my journey, and I want to share it with you because there are other ways to look at this as a medical approach. So after I had the surgery and was healing, I was referred to a chiropractor who did a lot of body assessments and energy work and that kind of thing. And so when I went to her the first time, you weren't there with me, were you, Gary?
No,
okay.
I wasn't along.
Yeah, and she looked at my chart and she goes, I see you have a temporary health challenge. When do you want to get started? Temporary health challenge. The doctors had already given me a very poor prognosis because it was such an aggressive tumor. I love that because it gave me hope. And long story short, I want to keep this as brief as I can. Long story short, after I changed my diet, especially reducing stress levels in my job and exercising more, ramping up I was already a runner, but instead of running 3 miles, I might run 4 miles that day. And taking as much of a non-chemical approach to everything that I could, it was a godsend. And over a year and a half, not only did I heal from the cancer, but my body regulated it back to what we call homeostasis, which is a normal state of health. So all the other health issues I had just fell off the wayside as well. And I felt better than I had in 20 or 30 years.
It looked good too.
Thank you. Oh, you're so funny. And as I healed, I was so ecstatic about how I felt. I'm thinking, what can this be like for animal patients? And I knew nothing about holistic medicine for animals, just with people. So I started going to workshops, conventions, conferences, all the seminars I could get my hands on, joined the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association, and then started incorporating the same things that helped me with my animal patients. And it was a godsend because there were cases that, I worked with that were given no hope. Like regular veterinary clinic would send the animal home, say there's nothing else we can do, I'm so sorry, and send them home to die.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch is right.
Oh,
so
no one wants to hear that.
Right.
So specifically, how do you help, let's call them pet parents, how do you help pet parents and animal owners with their animal's health? How's that all come about?
Well, first of all, we have to take a multifactorial approach to their health, meaning if you're feeding a crappy diet to your pets, or if your horses are getting, sweet feeds, that kind of thing, then I have to look at the diet, analyze that, figure out what they need to survive. I should say thrive, not just survive, because a lot of pets and animals can survive on a crappy diet, but eliminating as much of the chemical assault to their body as possible. And what I mean by chemicals is even a house pet if they're subjected to heavy perfumes from the laundry detergents or chemicals used to clean the floor, chemicals in the yard for garden and weed use, cleaning supplies around the home. You know, like in our house, we just use Thieves Household Cleaner. It's a totally natural cleaner, non-toxic, and we've got 4 house cats, and so along with myself and you, we don't want the cats getting, absorbing things off. So I mean, it's like I said, that multifactorial approach. Even looking at mitigating some of the EMFs in the house, like EMFs are electromagnetic frequencies from cell phones, electrical, what we call stray voltage, dirty electricity, that kind of thing all affects the body too. And then reducing the number of vaccines, formulating, customizing a vaccine protocol so that animals are not vaccinated. There's a whole plethora, plethora, I should say, of things that we look at. Mm-hmm. So like if you go to your doctor and you got a rash on your skin, on your arm, doctor will probably look at it and say, well, here's a prescription for some ointment. They don't look at what are you eating. Mm-hmm. That could be a factor. What chemicals are you putting onto your skin? That kind of thing. They don't take that approach. And so this is why I feel a holistic or an integrative approach is really important, because we look at the entire animal, the entire environment, and not just putting a Band-Aid on something.
When you mentioned the chiropractor that you went to, and she said you had a temporary health challenge, I didn't know her at the time. I had never met her, but the confidence level that she had was pretty inspiring.
Yes.
Then. But when I started going to her, one of the first things she said is, we look at the whole body. Modern medicine, I'm not a doctor, but looking from the outside, modern medicine does not do that.
No.
They don't look at the whole picture. In order to do things right, don't you think you should look at the whole picture? You want to get everything in there.
That's super important.
Yeah.
It's super important, because if you think about it, everything is connected in the body. Even our brains are connected to different organ systems, and especially our emotions, because there's a big thought that 95% of all physical disease, if not 100%, starts in in emotions and the thoughts and the feelings. And if you don't take care of that, that can manifest into some pretty severe physical ailments.
Sure.
Same with our animals. A lot of people may not think that animals have emotions, but they sure do. And if you don't believe me, how does your dog respond when you come home at the end of the day? Bouncing around. We even have our cats that come to greet us at the door,
They want fed.
Yeah. Oh, you spoiled it.
Is there a case you worked on that seemed hopeless at the time, but the animal rallied back and survived, that you can...
I've got lots of those. In fact, I have a book called The Animals Never Lie. It is a compilation of cases over a 10-year period that I worked on and I thought were really good, but I'm just going to pull out a couple ones that really stand out. One was a German Shepherd that was only 2 years old. He had severe gastrointestinal disease, puking, vomiting, had diarrhea, inappetence, where he'd go for days without wanting to eat. He'd been to the university of the state that this representative lived in.
So this was a state representative?
Yes,
dog?
yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And she'd spent already in that dog's first 2 years of life over $12,000 in emergency visits. She had him evaluated at the university of the state that she lived in. They couldn't come up with anything, and so they did the typical steroids, antibiotics, special prescription diet, which I know that's another day, another topic. And this dog was fine for a while, but when the medications were stopped, then it would go back to square one and vomiting and diarrhea again. So she found out about me and found out that I did consulting work through a friend of hers. So she called me and explained the situation. I said, I'd love to help you. And I really think we can make a difference. And so she sent me all the medical records, and I reviewed everything, past history with this dog. And then basically what I did, Gary, was basically change the diet, and got her on a homemade raw diet. That happened over time, not right away. And then gave her some prescription grade Barb supplements. And within 2 months, the dog quit puking and had diarrhea. And then she had the dog had a few flare-ups after that, but that's only because she did a different type of treat that was not on the approved treat list, and she knew that. And so she eliminated everything except what I helped her with. And that dog, it's been now, I think the dog is 4, and it hasn't had any incidences since. So we saved her a lot of money that way. And then the other one was, since this is more of a tractor talk and farmers are watching this and people who like the outdoors and livestock, I worked at a small animal clinic. I'm sorry, it was a mixed animal clinic over in a small town about 20 minutes from our house. And this is probably 10 years ago or so. And a bull came in to have his feet trimmed. And the bull fought pretty darn hard in the stocks and eventually fell down hard and then couldn't get up. And we don't know, at that point, we didn't know if he broke his neck, had a broken shoulder or what, some nerve impingement, but he could not get up. And he laid there for a couple hours, and the practice owner basically said, we're going to have to put him to sleep if he doesn't get up overnight. It was at the end of the day, it was actually 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and John, the practice owner, really wanted to get home. Okay. I said, John, do you mind if Jean was a receptionist, she was still there, do you mind if we throw some oils on this guy? He goes, oh, whatever, go ahead, I don't care. You do your woo-woo thing or your
snake oil
thing, yeah. And even though he was very skeptical of everything, he let me have the oils and some supplements there to dispense for the clients. And so I thought, well, we'll just go into the pharmacy and pull out what I need. And then Jean, the receptionist, stayed there and she uncapped the bottles for me. And fortunately, the bull's back was toward the slats where I could get to him pretty easily. And so I just started peppering him with 9 or 10 essential oils. And they were really strong anti-inflammatory oils. And within a couple minutes after the first application, he tried to get up, but then he fell back down. I thought, well, that's at least encouraging because he's laid here for several hours and he's still not moving. And you know me, I don't give up very easily. So Jean and I stayed there for probably another half hour to 45 minutes, and just every 5 minutes started peppering him with essential oils because they'll absorb topically. And then I didn't notice a lot of changes, and it was getting late, so I thought, well, we'll just say a little prayer over this bull and hopefully he'll be fine in the morning. So I get to work the next morning and I walk back into the large animal area and my heart just sunk because there was no bull there. And I thought, well, they probably euthanized him already and got him, gone. So a few minutes later, John walks back and I said, well, I'm sorry that you had to do that, John. He goes, what do you mean? He said, I'm sorry you had to put that bull down. He goes, I didn't put the bull down. He said he was standing up this morning, and I called the owner, and he's already come and picked him up. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was pretty incredible because a lot of people would have never even thought to do anything different outside of giving him an anti-inflammatory injection or something.
Do you remember you had been gone on a trip, and I was home. I was dressed up, waiting for you to get home around the fire pit. We were going to enjoy each other's company that night, have some good talks. And I was a firefighter at the time. My fire radio went off. There had been a livestock truck that tipped over. Good day, good visibility, no wind or anything. It doesn't get any better than that in Iowa. And this livestock truck flopped over on the side of the road, loaded with 175 hogs going to market, fat hogs. And you got home and dispatched me to the scene, and you showed up. We're cutting the trailer apart, dragging these hogs out, and you're putting oils on them. They're in shock. They're piled one on top of another, and they're not like humans. Their legs stick out. They can't do anything to get themselves up or free themselves. So it's like a Rubik's Cube. We're taking it apart, or like a jigsaw puzzle, taking it apart piece at a time. And you were sprinkling oils on it. You handed a bottle of oil, I think it was frankincense,
Yeah.
to a firefighter and said, here, put this on him, and he's going, "Who is the lady with the holy water over there?" That was hilarious.
It was funny, but it was such a traumatic experience, even for the emergency personnel. I know that you and I had a little PTSD after that, just hearing the hogs screaming and whatnot. But the ironic thing was I was coming back from an essential oil workshop that I was teaching, and I had my whole case of oils there, and I was trying to reach you by phone to say, hey, there's something going on over here by Arlington. You need to get over here ASAP. Couldn't reach you, so that's when I went home. And I think I grabbed another partial bottle of frankincense, and I had a brand new one with me. And for anybody who knows what pure, genuine frankincense oil is, it's not cheap.
Not cheap.
I'm thinking if it saves one pig, it's totally worth it. So frankincense to me is an oil that increases the will to live. It also helps the spiritual and emotional aspect of trauma. So when I handed that firefighter the bottle, I didn't even tell him what it was. I said, start sprinkling this in their mouths. If they're open mouth breathing, throw it in their mouth, put it on their head. He wasn't
sprinkling. He was giving that hogs a bath in that stuff.
Yeah, and I was reaching as many as I could without having to get right in the middle. I kind of wanted to stay out of the way of everybody.
Yes.
But some of these pigs, it was amazing. The ones that weren't too bad, but were still like maybe unconscious, they started to become conscious, and a couple of them actually got up and they were rooting and they're eating grass. I'm like, oh my goodness. So and like you said, with the weight of this is a double-decker semi for people who don't know what a hog transport truck looks like. And so the hogs on the top fell on the hogs on the bottom. So there were a lot of them that we couldn't save, but the ones that did rally you made the point, they're going to market, but this is inhumane to let them die the way that they are. So that was a really cool episode where the oils came in handy there.
A lot of people, I'll say city people, may have the wrong impression about farmers. They think they don't care about their livestock. Yeah. Livestock is their livelihood. And yes, they do care about their livestock. You know, I follow other YouTube channels, and I'm on one channel almost every night. The guy raises cattle. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Ed Gosselin.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost a couple cows this spring. And for everybody that followed the channel, it was just heartbreaking to see everything they went through. They were pretty heroic trying to save their cows, and it just wasn't to be. You can't. And you've experienced it too. You can't save them all.
Right.
You can't.
You try though.
We've lost our own. We lost Pal last fall, our Palomino, and he was getting up in years anyway.
He's 34.
It was pretty heartbreaking. Yeah. The one horse we have now, Storm Chaser, wasn't he given a pretty bad prognosis?
He was
they were going to put him down.
Yeah. Because of a chronic tendon injury, and I'd already done some consulting work with this owner before, and then because her equine veterinarian specialist told her that there was no hope for this horse, you might as well just go ahead and put him to sleep. Well, like I said before, what do I say, Gary? I don't give up.
You don't give up.
I don't give up.
There was no quit in you.
Right. So we brought him home, rehabbed him. In fact, this horse was so weak that when he went into a trot in a small pen, he'd fall down. He was just weak because he'd been stalled for an entire year with 5 minutes of hand walking a day, and his muscle mass was completely gone. Well, with the oils, with supplements, with mineral supplementation especially, that horse made a full recovery. And I just don't ride him anymore because I just don't ride. I'm 66, and coming off of a horse at my age hurts a little bit. So he's just kind of a retirement.
You're one of the very few women on this planet that will state your age and state it accurately.
I don't care. I don't care.
So Barb, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. How do people get a hold of you if they're interested in getting your take on things? How do they get a hold of you to get your professional opinion?
First of all, thanks for asking. But first of all, I want to tell people what I do. I do one-on-one private consultations with people, and that is usually a combination of Zoom call or a phone call, and then typing up a protocol and and a summary of what we do so people understand why I recommend what I recommend. That goes through an email to people. And I love doing that because I can really help people. The other thing I do is I teach workshops across the country. So if somebody has a group of people and they want to know what holistic medicine encompasses or how they can get started with that, then I can go to their location and teach. So I would say my website, I'll put in the link below. It is simply drbfoxdvm.com. And then I'll also put my email there. And if you guys want to contact me, feel free. I like talking to people to see if we're a good fit to work together anyway. So a 10 or 15 minute phone call to just get introduced to each other would be fantastic.
So, Dr. Barb, now that you've admitted on tape and that you're 66, when do you plan on retiring?
Never. I love what I do, and I love helping the animals and the people. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Barb.